Today I thought I'd do something a little different. Yes, we're going to go electronics thrifting, shopping for audio visual deals, especially stereo equipment. This is one of my favorite thrift stores. Not going to give it away, but those of you from the Raleigh Durham area probably know what this is. Really huge thrift store, really huge outdoor area where they have furniture, exercise equipment, all kind of stuff. But in the inside, they usually have a really good selection of electronics, including DVD players, CD players, speakers, amplifiers, etc. And yeah, floor standing speakers, a lot of these from those old rack systems. There's a JBL speaker there. There's one that's got all the cones punched in. So now there's not always great deals though. This is a KLH subwoofer, and you guys probably know KLH is not the best brand. But they had this listed for $45. I mean, that was crazy. And then we found some bookshelf type speakers. These are realistics. These aren't bad. $7 a piece. And some other kind of cheapo outdoor type speakers. But then, just looking around here, you kind of have to dig around sometime. There's some Sony speakers, again, relatively cheap. But here in the back, these Advents I found, these are kind of cool. They're like $6 a piece, two-way. I believe it's a 4-inch and a tweeter. There you go. Those are not bad. I mean, they used to sell this in a whole home theater system. I'm going to pull it up here in a minute and show you an ad from eBay of somebody who's listing the AV5. And that's the whole system there. So, I don't know. It might be okay. And those who like records, they have a ton here of LPs. I'm not into LPs, so I'm just kind of showing this for you guys. And, just kind of showing you what they have. They have a ton. They also have CDs and DVDs. I didn't show that. I'll show that in a future episode. On the other side outside, they have even more chairs, furniture. They even had a red car. I don't know if you saw that over there to the right where my daughter was walking. And here's a grandfather clock. Yes. Let's zoom in on the price here. I think it's $170. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I mean, but just all kinds of stuff. All kinds of furniture. These AV cabinets that nobody really uses anymore. But who knows? Probably in like 15 years they'll come back in style and everybody's going to want them. But we came across this little drawing table and thought it was kind of cool. So I actually called my wife and said, hey, you think our daughter would like this to use? And she's like, yeah, I think that's pretty cool. So we ended up buying this. It does need to be sanded down, probably, refinished. But it's pretty neat. $15, a little high. I did find this powered subwoofer, Kenwood powered subwoofer, and we got that little drafting table as well. So when we get home, I already got the other table out. I want to show you a better visual of this. For some reason, I didn't have a video of it while it was in the store, but it's this Kenwood powered subwoofer, and looks like a cat got a hold of the front there. Kitty cat scratch it, uses their scratching post. We take the front grill off. You can see it's an 8-inch driver. It's funny to see a port that big. It's like a 3-inch port with an 8-inch driver. This is a Kenwood powered subwoofer. The price is $12.99. Now, of course, at the store, I couldn't do a lot of testing, but I could plug it in to the outlet, make sure the light comes on. And I did that while I was at the store, but I didn't have like a RCA splitter, for my cell phone to be able to play a signal through it to see if it worked. So I just took a chance. Made in January 2000, the model SW-32HT. So I looked it up even when I was there. 8-inch driver, 100 watt amp, variable 60 to 200 hertz low pass crossover. It is ported, has low level RCA inputs, no high level inputs, and it's part of a home theater in a box system, HTIB, which includes a receiver. And the reason they call it HTIB is just because of the acronym. Home theater in a box. And these were very popular back in the late 90s to early 2000s. Included receiver like this one, and that was surround sound receiver, and then it included all your speakers. Now some of them had DVD players and other things like that. This one in particular, $4.99 for the entire system. So the subwoofer being $13, if it works, that's a pretty good dang deal, I think. Here's the back. You can see the fins. You can see the crossover filter off or on. The reason they have that switch is because a lot of the receivers have the crossover built in, so you don't need it. Has a volume, the variable crossover, the line level input, the standby LED, and the power switch. So let's plug it in. There you can see we do have lights. So let's plug it in to a source and see if we can get any sounds. After we played some bass music, determined that it worked okay, it's time to get it cleaned up a little bit. So let's get it all nice and shiny. Alright, so I decided to go ahead and take out the 8-inch woofer so we can take a closer look at it. It does have around a 38-ounce magnet, made in Malaysia. Has the old school style terminals. And there's a spider. You can see the voice coil. It's not a very big voice coil, between 1 and 1.5 inches. Maybe a 1-inch voice coil. It doesn't have very big surround. It does use just a standard paper style cone. Stamped steel basket. Definitely not anything very fancy here. I was a little bit impressed with the magnet though. A little bit bigger than I anticipated for, home theater in a box subwoofer. It's a single voice coil. Seems to be a 4 ohm single voice coil sub. Let's hook up the fluke meter to it and check it out. Again, we're measuring resistance here, not impedance. 3.4, 3.5 ohms. So that gives us a good idea of what to test the amp at. Now, here are the wires coming through the box. You can see the port and kind of a long port tube. Now what you may notice here is you can't see the amplifier board. Kenwood was very smart and made a partition between the woofer section and the amplifier section. And so what we decided to do is hook this up. That's right, hook the amplifier up and fire up the amp dyno. Let's test out the subwoofer amp on this home theater in a box powered subwoofer. If you haven't seen these tests before, on the left, you'll see RMS power output in watts. In the middle, the ohm load. On the right, you're going to see the voltage of the dyno, which in this case, it won't matter because we have it plugged into the wall socket. 8 ohms. We don't have any idea what the amp is rated. Let's find out what it delivers here at 8 ohms. 40 hertz certified to 1% distortion. 86 watts. It's not too bad. I figured this is probably a 100 watt amp at 4 ohms, so 8 ohms, we're getting pretty good power. Uncertified test takes us up to the clipping point of the amplifier, and a lot of amps it's not far from the 1%. This one we got just a couple more watts, 90 watts. And then let's try dynamic. This sends a pulse tone into the amp, kind of simulating music to see if it has any dynamic capability. This amp does not have much. 93 watts. So now let's wire it down to 4 ohms, where this is where it's rated to 100 watts because the subwoofer driver is 4 ohms. Certified test first, and yes, we get that number easily, 124 certified to 1% distortion. Let's try the uncertified test up to clipping. See if we get any better than that 124. Oh yeah, 133. And finally, let's do the dynamic RMS power test here. Send the pulse tone. Oh, we're getting close to 150 watts. 148. Cool, the amp works and it does its rated power and a little bit more. Here to make it easier for you, just have a results page showing all the tests that you just saw. And yeah, it did its rated power and more. We like that. Now, if you're like me, you're curious and want to see what's inside. Caps for the slaps, I say for sure. So let's take the amplifier board off the back. There were a ton of freaking screws holding this thing in. What are they holding in there? Is it something special? Well, let's find out. pull it out, and the speaker wire here is connected to the board using a connector. That's why it's connected using a connector.
This is not a Mickey Mouse program!
So let's go ahead and pop out that connector so we can pull the board out and take a closer look at the components. There you have it. There is a Class AB plate style subwoofer amplifier. We have Elna 63 volt 8200 microfarad rail caps, and then for the power supply section 35 volt 1000 microfarad. The amplifier chip is an NEC UPC 1298V, which is 80 watts by 2. They probably have it bridged down. The power supply section uses the two SC 5200s as well as the two SA 1943s. Now let's do a fancy flyover of this plate Class AB amplifier. You can see the aluminum heatsink there. You can see the billion transformer. And there's all the separate components for the subwoofer. Now, we tried to clean up a little bit where the kitty cat had scratched this thing up. Made it look a little bit more presentable. I actually use this sub in our living room kind of pseudo home theater system, and it worked pretty well. So let me know if you guys like these type videos where I find stuff at the thrift store, see how it works. Till next time, Big D, I'm out of here. So if you know, then you know. If you stick around to the end, you usually get some extra content. Today we're going to try to run this subwoofer amplifier lower than 4 ohms, 2.67. Got 128 watts certified. So let's try the uncertified test to clipping. And based on that chip we saw before is 80 watts by 2, we're not going to expect a whole lot more power, and we didn't get it. 136. What about dynamic? Can we get over 150? Oh, right at it. 150 at 2.67 ohms, so we're definitely reaching the limit of this chip. So we decided to try dynamic burst at 2 ohms, and yeah, the amp didn't do any more power. It kind of clamped down a little bit more. So there you have it, guys. Thanks as always for watching.
You know how them sound waves go?
Hustle hard, hustle every single day. I'll be making moves till I'm buried.